r/antiwork. Street 3 says, what 4 hours of use a minimum wage gets you? This. Just 8 rolls of paper towels. Included photo. Earthling number 5 says, I'm ready to start the revolution when you are, bestie. Street 3 says, right. Wyvern Rider says, I'll fly over and join in, sounds like fun and necessary. Allergic to Dogshk says, if you are working for minimum wage, you are not buying bounty. Past Direction 9145 says, you mean, you're not buying paper towels? At all. They suck. And they are now expensive. Clean towels do exist, and they can be washed regularly for much less than the cost of now semi-useless paper towels. It's good when I'm cleaning up dog crap, but otherwise what a waste of money. Celestial Wreckage says, clearly you did not live in my old apartment, where to use the washer, you could wash and dry a very small load for $5. If it was working, and even then it was a crapshoot, had a pun, that no one had shit all over the place in there. The laundromat was cheaper, but with no car, we had to walk about a mile there, and in summertime, or the rain, that could be hard. Cheap napkins and paper towels were a necessity. Of course, I was definitely in the oh no, I accidentally took this big roll of paper towels home, camp. Duchatel says, going for 33.99. On Amazon. Divided by 4 is 8.50. Minimum right now nationally is $7.25. So unless you got a good sale, you couldn't even buy that. Better get the 2-pack next time. Quarter says, yeah IDK what the frick is up with paper towels? Switched to dollar store napkins, $250 for 1.25. And old bath towels during the pandemic and never looked back. r/antiwork. Medium_desk_1169 says, that whole nobody wants to work thing died off pretty quickly, huh? I'm just sitting here enjoying my lunch when I remembered hearing that stupid line, which I haven't heard for a year at least by now. Balette Bajina says, they've moved on to complaining about how workers expect living wages and adequate work conditions. Ufredworks says, living wages and a roof to put over their heads. Then how are the managers supposed to gloat their mediocre difference in wealth? Ragnarok says, oh they've moved on to stupider shit like loud quitting. Morons. Riavarag says, saw this one recently. That's just quitting, you frick, I'm a bus. Twoheaven says, it's still getting yelled here, at least till I point out how the few places here that pay a more realistic wage don't seem to be having any staffing issues. Rara Maintenance 4263 says, they have to cycle through their lies to keep the ignorant masses from catching on. It is amazing what most people will forget in a couple years. Eastern Shade says, I really love, we need higher unemployment to keep the pause in their place, brazenly mask off and inviting revolt. Glazing 555 says, CNBC preaches this in the open. Not even trying to hide it. Skadoobadoo says, I hear the dang phrase at least once a week. Rolf says, every time I hear it, I offer to work for them, but they have to beat what I make already. And no, $12/HR isn't going to do it. Flibidorpus says, they've been saying it for literal decades. It just fades in and out. DroidJ950 says, I still hear and see this all the time, unfortunately. Keep image zeroed throwaway says, honestly, we should be reminding the world of what utter BS this point was 3 or 4 times a year, just so people don't forget how out of touch business is with their labor force. r/antiwork. Gia_7 says. Wage theft. The company I work for has decided to change us from work from home to hybrid workers. Instead of having computers at the office that are ready to use, they have us bring our laptops and connect them to monitors and a mouse and keyboard. Like most companies that I've worked for, I've gone round and round with them about being logged in and clocked in. They want us to log in and have every program pulled up and ready to go before we clock in. I clock in before I do all that because I believe that pulling everything up is work and they should pay for it. Now they're wanting us to hook up a computer and pull up everything off the clock. They're saying that not being logged in and ready to go when I clock in is the same as showing up late. I'm saying they're committing wage theft. Am I right or wrong on this? Orland67 says. Here's a fairly recent example in Alabama. Mercedes-Benz plant said workers in the paint shop had to be fully dressed in their protective gear before clocking in. A process that took around 45 minutes. They sued and the court said the prep time should be paid time. You should be at your desk at start time. Anything required to get up and running is paid time. Fixerguy 415 says. If I'm working or setting up to work, like booting up company software, I'm getting paid. Also, the company provides any computer or devices necessary because I'm absolutely not installing any tracking software on my personal computer or personal phone. Ranger Moni 2012 says. You should be paid from the moment you are on their premises. Contact your union. Jane 19812 says. Yeah, there should be a reasonable grace period to allow for computer connection and boot up. Podjol says. You are right. Derinth First says. Right. Viraditonis says. Frick, that shit. Beck 3548 says. If you're just as big a stickler for time theft, then absolutely you should be paid. Talking Back Again says. If you're a desk worker who needs to have software loaded when you start working / how does that work with Windows running updates that you can't stop BTW / Then those couple of minutes don't make the difference. They just don't. This kind of thinking is the same kind of thinking from the 19th century. It's utter and complete nonsense. Bertono6 says. It takes me 5 minimum to connect my laptop to my office docking station and get everything I need up and running 5 minutes. r/antiwork. Poopy_necker says. Working hours are close to 12 hours a day because SIA feels it'll increase productivity. I've been working for this company where working hours were close to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, and as if things weren't bad enough, one fine day the founder and co-founder announced that we'll be working 11 hours a day from now, which easily goes past 11, just because other companies are doing 20% more work than us and we need to match that level of productivity. On top of that, the total number of leaves got cut short, no increment in salary, meetings have been kept early in the morning so that people show up on time, but hey, at least they gave us health insurance now. Raymond_999 says. Increase working hours won't increase productivity. Talatra Cruz says. Why not work 24 hours a day and increase productivity even more? You only work 5 days a week. That gives employees 48 hours a week to do whatever they want. Brandon Diapus says. What type of work is this? What country? Effective Action 5706 says. Read somewhere that the average worker is only productive for 7 hours a day. Savager Platypus 76 says. The opposite is true. Ziad Zias says. It should decrease productivity. You know what to do. Strange Scarcity says. That's not how it works. Paradoxically, 8 hours is more productive than 10 or even 12. There might be a day or two where 10 to 12 could be needed, but realistically, That would be rare. Nubita says, everyone who has ever worked 12 hours knows that it does not increase productivity to do so. The most effective work hours are actually to work 6 hours, as the rest will just be filler basically. Corpsefeet says, I work 8 hours most days. I have strong skills, so I can do twice what someone less experienced could do. Some days I'm productive for 8 hours. Some days I'm productive for 3. The amount of time I'm in front of a computer has frick all to do with my productive time. In fact, I'm often most productive on shorter days. Frosty Celebration 55 says, the only thing that increases productivity is when you get to work, you know that it's not too long and you'll be on your way home. LMAO. Quiet Lad says, match that level of productivity, ask for a correction. They're using the word productivity when they mean output. 2 hours per day is most productive, as it's a measure of output per hour. That said, Sia is right, 11 hours per day will increase output. And 20 hours would increase it even more. Real question, why did Sia stop at 11 and not go to 20? Answer, because people will quit, and total output would fall. Note, 20 hours per day is good if measured over a 3-day time span. Total output would increase if Sia picked 20 hours for the next 3 days. Of course, total output might fall if measured over a month time span, as people leave because of a bad Sia. We don't know the details here, so you'll need to ask questions that encourage the Sia to more reasonable. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.